So after we violently murdered a man by throwing him into the trash compactor, who we will definitely never see again in any future games.
It's time to do some laundry.
The
You landed in the one spot that's wet.
the obligatory anime bathtub scene.
In a very large sewer.
Yeah, that water's probably gross.
Gravity Queen versus King of...
Gone for good. Yep, we're never seeing him again, for sure.
Hexville's new superhero. Gravity Queen.
Up, up, and away. Up, and sideways.
Up, and oh, God help.
Huh?
Bwah, bwah. Cat, this is what... Yep, going all soon.
That fan service anime.
And I accidentally used my special move.
Damn you, sewer. Damn you,
He saw my nipple.
No, that wasn't accidental. Kat, after the fact, when she'd gotten dressed and he'd gone away, she was imagining that wall was his face.
I mean, they're both flat and easy to punch, so...
So, Kat, you really should have seen that coming. You kind of walked into it, just saying.
Hello, conversation point.
Also, why is that set up outside instead of inside the pipe where she has at least the 75% privacy because there are walls and everything?
Well,
she needed to get the water, I guess.
Yeah, and she was underneath the city, so most people probably wouldn't be looking down.
Well, people think that all the time, but there's always someone on the skyscraper opposite you who happens to coincidentally look out at the worst possible time and see.
The rear window effect.
Yeah. So curtains, they're a thing.
Not that I expect anyone in our not that I expect anyone in our viewership
Just tripped that kid.
Not that I expect anyone in our viewership to know what rear window is.
It's the window in the rear, Ryan. Gosh, it's not that hard.
I'm referencing a movie. But.
Oh, okay.
The thing that people would actually be doing if they were doing that sort of thing in a not so private living situation would be to set up some sort of screen object, though. To make a makeshift stall or something. And it's not like this is a unique thing that I had to make up just for this situation. There were a lot of people in older societies that, for all I know, right now at this very moment, who live in family homes where there's not a lot of separate rooms, so there are little privacy screens everywhere for those kinds of things when they're getting changed or breastfeeding or whatever.
We need to start a GoFundMe to get Kat an actual house.
Does she ever get an actual house, Ryan?
Hey, you tinker with a few things there. The sewer can be a great spot. Look at the turtles. They're fine.
Yeah, you're only smelling shit. How did they, what? Do they ever answer how the turtles get pizza delivered to them in the sewers?
Actually, they do.
The first movie does.
In the first one, they have it delivered to a house and then just take it.
Do turtles have noses?
Yeah.
Do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have noses?
Depends on the art style.
But yes.
Yeah, I would say yes, but it does depend on the art style. But yeah, the first movie does answer, as Ryan was saying, that they have the pizza delivery guy go to a house that they just take it from the sewer grating at that point.
Yeah, but how do they pay?
And you
for
better
it
not
then?
be 30. You better
just
not
leave
be
it on the
30
floor.
minutes late. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know,
how do they get the money to pay for it then?
I don't know.
I think this was actually shown in the comics at some point. It's a hazy memory, but I remember they would give an address that was near a sewer entrance, and they'd leave the money out, and they'd sort of lurk underneath the sewer lid and wait for the pizza, and the pizza delivery guy would show up, take the money, leave the pizza there, looking all confused, and they would come out and quickly get the pizza and then go back down.
That's exactly what the movie did.
Yeah.
But they were 30 minutes late, so they had to pay. They were 30 minutes late, so they had to apply a discount.
They actually had to stop doing that.
I think you mentioned that in this commentary in an earlier session.
in a different context.
Yeah.
We brought that up twice.
Oh man.
That's what happens when you have to take breaks between sessions. You can't do an entire game in one sitting.
Don't you guys know BrainScratch Comms records their entire 40-hour game commentary in one sitting.
in one night. I don't know
Man.
how we do it.
Including every game we've ever done and ever will do.
Imagine if we had done the Mass Effect commentary that way, though. That
We probably would have gotten
Christ.
even more delirious and off topic than we did. So and we probably would have yelled at you even more for not using the cannon.
But enough about that. Did you know that Domino's had to stop its 30 minutes or less?
What is the story behind that, by the way?
There were too many traffic accidents because the pizza drivers had to drive too recklessly for.
Well, yeah, because the pizza drivers are the ones losing money. They're losing tips. They're losing all that stuff.
Yeah, they're the ones also getting yelled at by the customers too.
And the bosses for being late.
Yeah, because it's always their fault. God forbid there's a pile up on Main Street and they can't.
Or a traffic light's out, so it becomes a 4-way.
Yeah, but it's the driver's fault all the time.
4-way intersections are the fucking worst.
That just reminds me of the cartoons short, where the guy has to deliver a pizza to the Arctic in 5 minutes or less, and he shows up like a second late at the end.
And the pizza's a mess anyway at the end.
And
I said no anchovies.
So, the SpongeBob episode where they deliver the pizza, that guy's a dick because he yelled at SpongeBob because he forgot the drink. But to be fair, he was relatively okay with them delivering that pizza like 8
days
hours late because they walked through the entire desert to get there. So, yeah, an underwater desert, I know. But, yeah, so all things considered...
Well, desert just means devoid of vegetation, so...
actually, you know what? You're right.
There would be places underwater where there's not
Technically,
ideal
Antarctica
conditions
is a desert.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, along with the other Windows 3.11 installations I made, I also installed Undersea Adventure, which I remember having, but I don't remember ever actually using back in the day when I was a kid. So, yay.
If it doesn't have Space Cadet Pinball, I'm not interested.
You know what? Can't you guys just be okay with Minesweeper? All right.
Minesweeper is indeed on the Windows 3.11 installation that I made. So, how about that?
Yeah, but you see, since I grew up with like Windows 98, all those kinds of games didn't really come with it. You really only just got Minesweeper and Solitaire.
Well, that was true in Windows 3.11 as well. Minesweeper, Solitaire, and Hearts are the games that come pre-installed. Everything else is some sort of like...
Yeah, in Minesweeper and the card package games were designed to actually teach you how to use a mouse and keyboard and stuff.
Yeah, so those were pre-installed, and that was it. If you wanted the other sort of Microsoft games, they came in a separate package, which may or may not have come with your computer or Windows.
Did it come with the Windows 95? How to work with Matthew Perry and
the Friends cast.
Yeah, the Friends cast.
Yeah.
I forgot that thing existed.
You guys have to remember that in the 90s, people were really dumb. Okay.
Well, before that, most people weren't used to having
Didn't
computers.
understand how it worked.
Yeah,
they
but
didn't
people
have
come out of the
computers in
womb
their
not understanding how computers
it's funny,
work, and people today can pick up a keyboard no problem.
Well,
It's
yeah,
funny,
yeah,
'cause,
but
I'll mock my parents before, for not knowing how to do this. But then I think back to like when I first picked up a computer, like my first Windows 95 experience. Fuck, I was dumb.
Also, Ted, you have to remember, kids are now so used to current technology they don't know how to use old stuff. There's footage of like this 3-year-old being handed like an old Game Boy and they're trying to touch the screen.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that and it made me sad.
It's kind of part of what we're all used to as far as technology is concerned comes from what we see other people using all our lives. So you're used to using a mouse because you've been using it for a while, and a lot of people are used to using a mouse because they see everyone else using it. They pick up how to use it, and from there it's just a matter of getting a personal feel for it. It's kind of like walking or talking. But back then, Windows 3.1 and to a lesser extent Windows 95, people were still getting used to the concept of a mouse because before those two operating system sets, well, we didn't really have many graphical user interfaces going around. It was all command line shit.
Hey man, guys, what are you doing with that save icon? That's what people like. A lot of kids will say like if you
floppy disk,
show them
physical.
a floppy.
Hey, look, he 3D printed a save icon from Microsoft Word.
You see, it always. So when I grew up, like even when I was like 8 years old, so this is like 2001, I was always confused as to why they were called floppy disks because by that point, the only ones you only saw were the
hard plastic ones, yeah.
Yeah,
which
the one
weren't
encased in hard
floppy, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, well, the name refers to the disc on the inside, not the casing on the outside. So it was
Well,
kind of like
and also the original floppy disks were very floppy because they were very soft.
but even in the solid hard plastic ones, the disc on the inside is a floppy sort of circular slice of, well, for want of a better description, something kind of like cassette tape. So it's it was a floppy disk. It was just a floppy disk encased in non-floppy plastic.
Video games running on cassette tape, like really old Atari, those mystify me because that makes no sense to my brain.
Okay, you want video games running on cassette tape. All right, yeah. The thing about that though is they kind of work in a similar fashion to CDs, which is they read through the cassette tape, load the data, and then play the data rather than playing directly off the tape.
So do they have to rewind the cassette?
Yes, they do.
Every loading
that's the major disadvantage to video gaming off of a cassette tape is that the loading process itself is a really lengthy thing.
So, yeah, but does like the machine rewind it for you, or do you have to do it yourself? Is like that's
I think the machine knows how to do that stuff. I'm not really sure though because I've never used a fucking Commodore 64.
Do you have to rewind it before you bring it back to Blockbuster?
Kids these days will never know the pain. Kids these days will never know the pain of being done with a movie at like 11 o'clock at night and you're really tired, but you have to wait an extra 3 minutes to rewind the damn thing.
Or the people before didn't rewind it, so now you have to turn your eyes away from the screen so you're not ruined by seeing the end of the movie. You know, well, I had to do that all the time. Like either turn the TV off or just close my eyes while rewinding.
You know what? I'm gonna defend that. I'm not gonna defend. I'm gonna criticize the person who finds themselves in that position because you don't have to put a tape in the VCR to know that it hasn't been rewound. You have to look through the clear plastic windows and see that the tape is halfway wound around the one side and halfway wound around the other.
Yeah, but you still have to. You still have to put it in the machine to rewind it, though. Is the thing.
You have to put it in the machine.
You can hit the rewind button without the TV on.
Yeah, or you can just not push play.
Or you can rewind before you return the video.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Well, the person who didn't rewind is in the wrong, but that's just because it's a courtesy. The person who put the tape in and didn't realize it wasn't rewound is kind of stupid. I mean,
listen, you're just as much to blame for this.
Use the observational capacity that God gave you when you were born. You have eyeballs in your head. And a brain in your skull.
I know it's my fault for stabbing you, but why didn't you apply pressure to the wound? Otherwise, you wouldn't have bled out. I mean, come on. We're both at fault here. Let's try to meet in the middle. Okay.
Right, let's not pretend that not rewinding a tape is equivalent to murder. Okay.
Hey, you know what? I got spoiled to the end of Bambi 2, and I'm not going to let that go. Okay?
Lewis, I disagree because you're murdering. I disagree, Lewis, because you're murdering my free time.
I got spoiled about the ending of one of Disney's shitty animated sequels.
You don't know it's going to be shitty when you're 7 years old.
It's an animated sequel. From Disney, it's
when
going
you're
to be
7-year-old, you don't know
that. So off that, all right. So off that, you're saying it's a safe assumption that it's a Disney sequel that it's going to be shit. Well, it's a safe assumption that you rewound the fucking tape.
Yeah.
So I'm putting it inside the VCR.
So Ryan, in that case, it's a safe assumption that the Shazam movie is going to be really awful.
You know what? You know what gets me though is that when at the video store, they could very, very easily take the tapes that are returned out of their case, look to see if they're rewound, and say, "Oh, this one needs to be rewound. Let's put it in our video VCR and rewind it for the customer." But they don't.
The manager doesn't want to spend money or time on that. Like they'd rather have the people doing other crap. That's really just it.
Well, there's a lot of downtime. Like a lot of downtime when you're operating a small retail establishment like that. So
Yeah, especially these days, when you're running
and you know
freaking
that
Blockbuster.
it's not unreasonable.
There's only one Blockbuster left in the
It's not
in the United States.
unreasonable either, because like video game stores do that kind of product by product maintenance on their stuff. Like they check the discs, they check the consoles that get traded in to see if they function before they trade them. Yeah.
I think it's kind of because with a video game, there's kind of more room for error.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
DVDs,
it is.
like not so much back in the VHS days, but DVDs can get skipping. But for the most part, well, I don't know how bad Blu-rays can get about skipping.
It is. My point is, it can all fit into the employee's schedule. It's not going to stop you from serving the customers properly. Video game rental stores were just kind of inefficient in that way. Alright, we're still floating around doing challenges, are we?
Yep.
So, what is your guy? I've only ever been to a Blockbuster twice in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah. So, there's two. The first time I rented Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards, and I liked it so much that my mom ended up buying that copy of the game from the Blockbuster, which I remember that specifically because it's one of the very few times I got a video game bought for me when it wasn't my birthday or Christmas. The second time I went in and I rented like one of those 3-episode VHSs for the Sat AM Sonic the Hedgehog, and I think it was like the first. It was the one where Tails asks for the funny kiss. I remember that.
Oh, man. I remember those. They had like 2 episodes apiece on them. It was horrible.
Yeah, if you were lucky, you got 3.
And then we upgraded to the days of Nickelodeon DVDs where you got a whole 9 episodes. You know.
You know what? DVDs didn't stop video publishers from stiffing you on episode count. Because like the uncut DVDs for Yugioh, when 4Kids finally started doing that, they were
early
bad.
Funimation DVDs were the exact same way. They had like maybe 4 episodes on them.
Yeah, and it's like that was what they were doing for the uncut Yu-Gi-Oh releases, and I'm like, do you want these to sell, or are you trying to make this a self-fulfilling prophecy? The people who want uncut Yu-Gi-Oh DVDs aren't going to want to buy them in 4-episode DVDs at full price when they can pirate the whole series in a box.
This was like
set
2001, 2, 3, etc.
Yeah.
So that was before. That was the early days of like uTorrent and stuff like that.
They tried to market a line of uncut Yu-Gi-Oh DVDs with the dub actors doing their lines in really stiff fashion because they didn't bother actually directing the uncut episodes at all. It was pretty bad. And there were like 4 episodes I think per DVD, and they only got to like the 2nd volume before they gave up.
So they never did uncut versions of like the Battle City or whatever.
No.
Like if they only ever did 2 volumes, then they didn't even get all the way through the Pegasus Island stuff.
They barely got like past fucking My Valentine and Her Harpies, I think, is how far they got. So like not far at all.
Lame.